So now, good morning. We are going to start with the fourth chapter. We have already completed 3 chapters of your unit 1. Okay, this is one of the lengthiest chapter we have in this unit. The rest 2 chapters are comparatively, a smaller one with this. And this chapter name is your servlet API and life cycle. So here, what basically you are going to learn is you're going to learn all the interfaces and the classes are available under your packages which we studied last lecture. Okay, we had 2 packages, that is javax.servlet.star and javax.servlet.http.star. Okay, so we have numbers of classes and interfaces available into that 2 particular packages. So we are going to learn one by one all the classes and interfaces with its methods and everything. Okay, and this chapter is as okay. So now we are starting with this chapter, chapter 4. Okay. So with an introduction, I'll just start. Say, students, if any point you feel that I'm not audible to you, please let me know. Okay. You can unmute and you can tell me. So now we'll start with the introduction. What we are saying that we have the concepts of servlets, okay, which we studied in 3 chapters. We know why servlets have been used, why we are not using the traditional languages like your Perl and C or the traditional concepts like CGI, and why we are using the servlet, over that languages, over that technologies. So we know all those things. Now we also going to understand, we are going to go one step further. We are going to understand the basic classes and interfaces which the Java is providing, where I'm going to get my servlets implementation into my Java code. Okay, so how I am going to use the servlets in my Java using these classes and interfaces which are available in the packages that I'm going to see in this particular chapter. Okay, so now the Java is going to provide you the servlet APIs. Okay, that APIs are nothing but can be called it as libraries or the packages, and that libraries and the packages are nothing but which is going to consider. Okay, so now we know that we have a Java which is consisting of lot of APIs. Okay, and Java is going to have the servlet, which is also going to have number of APIs, which is going to help me to have number of classes and interfaces for which I can use to implement the servlets in my Java code. So you can also consider it as like your servlet is something a body which is going to be there in your Java code. It is not the whole Java code which we are going to write. The servlets are the small modules which are there in your Java code. Okay. Now, servlets can access the entire family of the Java APIs. Okay, whatever APIs your Java is having, basically, it is having the whole access. The servlet is having the whole access to those APIs. If whenever the servlet wants to use that APIs, it can use it very easily. Okay. Now here the Java Servlet API is a class library which can be again used for the same purpose what we are learning till now. It is for requesting, for processing and for responding. Okay, and this all happens dynamically. Fine. Now, when we talk about the Servlet API, okay, the Servlet API is including basically 2 packages. We know that. That is first is your Java Servlet, javax.servlet.star, and this is javax.servlet.http.star. What is the difference between in these two are, this is something we known as generic or a general servlet. Okay, this is something we known as which is supporting the HTTP and HTTPS protocol. Okay, so those classes and interfaces which are using the protocol called HTTP and HTTPS comes under your this particular package. And all the generic and the general classes and interfaces are going to come which are not using the HTTP and HTTPS protocol comes under this particular package. Okay, so now the servlets are the Java classes, okay, which is going to extend one particular thing which I told you, that is something known as HTTP servlet. If you remember, I've told you whenever we are going to write the Java code and when we try to implement the servlet into our Java program, we have to give a hint to our program that we want to implement servlet in our code. Okay, what after doing that the program is going to understand is, okay, the application or the implementation which is happening, it is happening for the server side, it is happening for the web server. Okay, and the specified class which we have for doing that, for implementing servlet, is your HTTP servlet, and which is present inside your particular package, something called it as javax.servlet.http.star. Okay, so this star means what, consisting of numerous classes and the interfaces. One of the classes what, your HTTP servlet. Fine. Now, the servlet is going to perform the role in web applications by calling all these servlet API. Fine. So whenever we are going to make any web application, we can have the number of servlet APIs which we can use it in our program, and we can create some web application using a servlet. Now, when we come to the next one, that is, we have two packages. We know that javax.servlet and javax.servlet.http. So we'll go first to your javax.servlet package. It is consisting of numbers of classes and interfaces. I have already told you about that. Okay, it is going to define the communication between your servlet class and your runtime environment, that can be your JVM. Okay, so your servlet package or servlet API is helping us to basically have the communication between the class what we are going to create, where I am having the implementation of servlet, and with the runtime environment, that's nothing but your JVM, where your execution is going to happen. Okay, now here the Java X.Servlet package is the basically known as the core of Servlet API, because it was one of the first thing which was there in the picture. After that, Java X.Servlet.http came with some of the advanced features. Okay, so that's why it is something we known as what, it is a core of Servlet APIs. Now, when we talk about these packages, we have numbers of classes available for different purposes. When we talk about, while we want to have a communication with a host server, okay, we can use something class called it as servlet request and servlet response. Okay, if I want to communicate with my client, I can use the class something called it as servlet input stream and servlet output stream. Don't worry about all these things, you just have to know what basically these classes are right now. Okay, how we are going to implement it and use it, we will be definitely looking into your practical, because we have to use it. Otherwise we cannot do any this client server architecture thing in a practical or in a program. Okay, so we are definitely going to use this. So why we are using the servlet request and servlet response? Because as a developer, whenever I am going to develop some interface for my client through which I expect that the input is going to come, I want to have one class which will help me to do that. So if I'm allowing my client to have some request from the server, what I'm going to do, I'm going to use a class called servlet request. Similarly, if I expect that I want to give a dynamic response to my client, whatever request has come based on that, I'm going to use a class called servlet response. Okay, it all happens whenever I'm going to work with a host server. Similarly, if I want to work with the client side, I have the option called servlet input stream and servlet output stream. Again, it is going to have a reading option, it is going to have a writing option. Okay, now we'll see one by one the interfaces over here. The very first interface which you are going to learn is about servlet interface. Okay, this interface, in a very general term, in an easy term, I can tell you that used for developing a servlets. Okay, so when we talk about Java X.Servlet.star package, okay, so you have a servlet interface which will help you to develop the servlets. Okay, and if I talk about the Java X.Servlet.http.star package, you have HTTP servlet to develop the servlets in your program. Okay, I hope I am clear with this. So whenever you have two packages, you have both the packages having the option to create a servlet in your program. Okay, the first option, the first package is going to give you an option, that is the specified interface, that is your servlet interface, which you can use to develop your servlet module in your Java code. Similarly, I have an HTTP servlet. It is there in the another package, that is your javax.servlet.http.star, which is going to give you option again for developing the servlet module in your Java code. Okay, so this you have to remember that how it is going to work. Now again, servlet is been considered as one of the body of a Java code. It is not been considered as a whole Java program. It is like one of the small program or a module which is present inside your Java code. So it is also possible, other than your servlet code, there is another thing also there in your Java program. Okay, after you write something in your Java code, the small modules like your servlet, it is going to run inside your servlet engine. Okay, now you can call it as servlet engine, you can call it as web container, you can call it as web server, you can call it as host server. Okay, so there are number of names are available which you can call. So you have to remember, whenever these terms are going to come, you don't have to be confused like what servlet engines are, what web containers are, what host servers are, what are web servers. They're all the same. Okay, where I am going to have the execution of my servlet programs. Okay, so it is all been running to your server side. Okay, it can be one of your web server where your servlet execution is happening. Okay, now what is going to happen once I create the servlets inside, which is going to run in your web server? It's going to have a the request and the response from your client and from your database. Okay, if I'll just generalize and I'll just make it short, what we can understand over here is what is the process of working of your servlets. Okay, the very first thing what is going to happen, or you can say the life cycle of a servlet. What is a life cycle of a servlet? So the basic thing is that life cycle is going to be created first, or we can say that it is been initialized first. Okay, and there is an specified method for that, that is your init method. We will learn in the next slide. Okay, once you have initialized your servlet, now your servlet has been started executing. What is going to happen? There is going to be a service post processing. Okay, now what all services are going to be processed? Again, your request and response processes. Okay, so there will be 0 or more services being requested by your client which needs to be processed, and then the response has to be sent. So all the requests, all the services which are coming from the clients are to be handled. Okay, and this is going to happen in your web server, in your servlet engine, in your host server, okay, in your web container. So this is all one thing where this service processing is going to happen. Okay, lastly, what we can say, that once I have completed processing, I have generated the response for my client, now everything is done. Now the servlet is going to be closed, like the module which we have written for handling that type of request, then servlet is going to be destroyed. That means automatically your garbage collection is being done by your Java. Okay, so we also know that Java don't have to have the manual garbage collection, it is an automatic garbage collections we have. So once the servlet is being used and provided the services, it is been destroyed with your Java. Fine, so this is like basic life cycle. You can also consider it like how servlet is working. Now we'll see one by one the methods which are being used for doing all these tasks. Okay, the very first method is what? Your init method, which is going to help me to initialize the servlet. So very first step what we had, initialization. Okay, so whenever we write that module in a program, what basically the first thing is going to happen is your creation and the initialization of this servlet. Okay, and this method is being called automatically whenever you are going to put your servlet into your servlet engine. That means you don't have to put it manually. What basically happens is, when you write a program, servlet program, okay, and you try to compile it, when you try to run it, what happens? Automatically this method is going to be invoked by your servlet engine. Okay, and the servlet engine is going to execute, or it is going to start or create your, or it is going to initialize your servlet. Okay, once it starts your servlet, the engine is going one step further. It is going to invoke again the next method, that is something called it as service method. Okay, now what service method is going to do? Now it is going to first look out the things what we have written in our program. Okay, it will understand a program, that what actual task we want to perform it with the help of the this method, service method. Okay, once it is understood that what developer wants to do it with this particular servlet code, what is going to happen? The service method is going to start working. It is going to start carrying out the request from the client. Okay, It is going to again generate the information. It will give the information back to the client. It will consider all the parameters which are coming from the client. It will not even skip one. Okay. And all the parameters are going to have the responses, and it has been returned the information to the client. So this service method is going to work. So out of all the three methods, that can be your initialization method or service method or a destroy method, the important one is your service method. Okay, where actual processing of the request is going to happen. Now, when we talk about the last two methods of servlet interface is something, third one is your destroy method. We know that we are going to have an automatic garbage collection. So destroy method is going to be invoked once all the processing of the request happens. So it is going to clean up all the resources which are being holding with the tasks which we have performed just now. It can be your memory, it can be your files, it can be your threads. It is all going to be free from the servlet which we have executed. Fine. And the last method is something we known as get servlet info. Okay, it is going to return me the information in the string format. Okay, and that can also consist of the author name, the version, and the copyrights. All this information is going to come to me when we are going to invoke the get servlet info method. Okay, and this method is going to return the information in the form of plain text, not in the form of markup. Okay, so that also we have to understand that whatever information we are getting from the servlet engine, whenever this method is going to be invoked, is going to come in the form of plain text. Okay, so now we have completed one interface, that is your servlet interface. Whatever interfaces and the classes we are learning, students, we are learning from the first package, that is your javax.servlet.star. Okay, once we'll complete the possible interfaces which is required in your practical, then we'll be switching to the another package where we are going to again learn about the classes and interfaces from there. Okay, so now the first package, we had one first class or first interface, you can say, that is your servlet interface. Okay, now the second interface which we are going to learn is your servlet context interface. Now what do you mean by servlet context interface? Okay, first of all, we have to understand that it is consisting of lots of methods which the servlet is going to use it. Okay. Now, why we want this type of interfaces? I can give you an example for that. What we have mentioned here, that it is going to help me to get some MIME type of data. Now, what MIME type of data are? It is something an internet standard whose full form is multi-purpose internet mail extension. Okay, this is one of the internet standard, or you can say internet protocol, which we can use to pass the multimedia data from one place to the another place, from one client to the one host server. Okay, so if I am trying to request some multimedia type of data from my host server or a web server, okay, I can use this type of standard. That means I am not using it manually. Always remember, whenever I'm saying that we want to use it, means your the applications are going to use this, and your developer are actually integrating all these things into your applications. Okay, so now this is like one of the internet standard which you can use to get the multimedia types of data. You can attach the multimedia types of data into your emails, you can send it. Okay, so now your servlet context interface is going to help me to have the communication with my server whenever I want to have something, a multimedia type of data, or I can have something, call it as a log files. Okay, so this I am going to get when I'm going to use the methods are available into these interfaces. Okay, so now whenever I am going to have a servlet context, always remember, then there will be an object. Okay, whatever you create, either you create a class or you create an interface, you need an object who is going to work for me in the whole program. Okay, we know that whenever we talk about the the object oriented languages, we know that objects are the major role which has been played. Okay, and through which I'm going to get all the things happen in my program. So whenever you're going to have an interface, but obviously we're going to have an object for that interface. Okay, so to get that interface to do the specified work, so the object is required for that particular interface to do that. So now I am also going to have an object for my servlet context interface, which is again being created by your web container, or it can be your host server, okay, web server, or a servlet engine. So now the object is being created by your web container whenever you are going to deploy your project. Now you have two words over here. You have a deploying word, you have a project word. What does it mean? So project is nothing but a web application which you are going to create it. Okay. And deploying means that you are going to execute your web application. So whenever you start execution of your web application, okay, the first time when you're going to do that, your web container is going to help you to create an object of your interface. Okay, now this object will help me to get all the possible configuration information from one of the file, that is something we known as web.xml file. Don't worry about this term, we are going to look in detail like how we are going to create web.xml now in this lecture. Okay, so first we'll understand that what you mean by configuration information. Now say for example, I have a client, I have a server, I have a database. Okay, for the client, I have used one of the markup language that can be your HTML. I have used servlet in your server to communicate with the client, or you can say simply to communicate with your HTML. And I have a database. Again, my servlet is going to communicate with my database also. Okay. So now what is going to happen? I'm going to have one separate file in my whole project, in my whole application, web application, which I'm going to make. In that web application, there will be one specified file will be available separately, that is web.xml file, which is going to keep all the track, all the records of the mapping which is going to happen in between the client and the servers. Like for example, I expect that from the client is going to be used by the client, the application what I have built, using the markup language, using that particular interface, it is going to send me the request. So what is happening? I am having a mapping from HTML file to my servlet file. Okay. So whenever I'm going to send the request, what is going to happen? That request is going to come to the servlet file. Okay. Why it is coming to the servlet file? Because the servlet file is meant to process to that request. Understanding? So now what is going to happen? I am going to get a mapping from one file to the another file. That means my HTML file and the servlet files are linked to each other. Okay, they are mapped to each other. They are communicating with each other. So that is also one of the configuration information I am having. Okay, now my servlet file is again getting communicated with my database. Okay, that is again the another configuration information I have. Getting? So now what is happening? All this mapping information I am putting into my specified file which is there in your web.xml. You don't have to put it manually. Whenever you are going to create any link or any mapping between any files, it is going to create automatically into this web.xml file. So if you are somewhere not getting, where your files are getting mapped, if you are getting confused, simply what you can do is you just open this file and understand what you have done. Okay, so this is like where web.xml file is going to be used. How to add it, I'll show you. Okay, and we have to understand one important thing is that in your web application there is a possibility that we're going to have number of servlet files. It's not about that we are going to have only one servlet page. We can have number of servlet page which is going to be linked to the number of other client interfaces, client HTML pages, you can say. We are going to have only one servlet context object of your application. Okay, so if I have a web application where I have 3 to HTML pages, I have 4 to 5 servlet pages, I have been mapping, and I have been interconnected with each and everything. I'm not required to have the different objects for the different servlet files. Okay, what I can do is I can have only one object which is going to be created for my whole application. Okay, and if I want any information that to be shared with number of servlets present in my web application, what simply I can do is I am going to have one specified tag present in my web.xml file, that is something known as context hyphen param, that is parameter. Okay, this tag is going to give me an option where I can pass number of information in one go to many servlets. Okay, so what used to happen when we have the different what you can say the servlet file, what we expect that we are going to have a different objects for the different servlet files, and if I want to pass any information or I want to change anything into my servlet, I can do with the help of that particular object. But here in servlet context, I don't have to have that. What I can do is I can have only one object the whole application, and if I wanted to have some changes in my servlets, what I can do, I can use the context param element. Okay, Now, I'll just show you one thing which is there in this particular link, how you're going to create a servlet. Okay. Now, we will be doing the practical in the NetBeans. Okay. So now this is your NetBeans IDE, which you are going to get. I have asked Satyavan sir to give me all the possible, the softwares which is required in one drive link, and that I'll share with you in 1 or 2 days. Most probably he will be giving today. I'll share you once I'll get it. Okay. And then you try to install it in your machine. And if you feel that you have any problem while installation, you can ask me. Okay. Now, here we need in NetBeans. This is 6.5. We need a higher version, minimum 8 we require. Okay. Now, when we start with this NetBeans IDE, what is going to happen? I have an option called file. Why I am showing all these steps to you basically, I wanted to show that where this web.xml is going to come into the picture. Okay. And I am also going to show you that what type of code has been written into that. Fine. So now here what is happening, I have a file option where I have an option called new project. Okay. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to get an option as soon as I'll click on new project. Okay. You have number of options, number of categories over here, and based on that categories I have the sub projects or subcategories options over here. Okay. Now out of these categories, which option you are going to select it? You're going to select Java Web. When you select this Java Web, automatically the options are going to change over here, and you have a very first option, called it as what? Web application. Okay. So once you start with this web application, it is going to ask you the name for that web application. By default, it is coming web application 1. If you want to change it, you can change it. Otherwise, keep as it is. Okay. Now, when we come to this particular part, it is very important because you have two options to select the server and you have an option to select the Java EE version. We know that we are learning Java EE 7. So instead of 5 from the drop down, you are going to select the Java EE 7. Okay. And server. So server is required what? Glassfish. We already studied about this Glassfish server in your, I think, first chapter, where I've told you that we are going to use this particular server. Now you have to understand what is the use of this server. We have studied two servers, that is Glassfish and Apache Tomcat. And I told you that why we are going to stick to the Glassfish, why we are not going for an Apache, because Apache Tomcat is only going to support me very well when I'm going to use a web application technologies like your servlet, JSP, JSF. And when I'm going to use a Glassfish, it is going to help me to have the enterprise application technologies also, like your EJB, Hibernate. Okay. So which is not getting possible into your Apache. So from the starting, we are going to stick to this particular server. Now you have to understand why this server is been, added or used over here, because we have a client when we are going to create an interface using HTML like a markup language. Again, the middle one, that is your the host server or web container or a servlet engine, or you can say the web servers where I need something to be, some server to be run. So that server is going to process everything. So you are going to add one server to your, the middle layer, where you are going to have all the processing. This server is going to do all the required processing for you. So the request is going to be handled by this server. Okay, the response fetching from the database is going to be done by this server. So it is important. Okay, so now here from you have to select the version. Also you have an option called add. Sometimes when you install the NetBeans, you have a pre-built Glassfish server. Sometimes when we move the one more technologies, the one level up, and it is sometimes required to be get added externally. Okay, so that means we have to add, or we have to download Glassfish server externally, download it, install it, and we have to add it from here. So we are going to do in this practical. Don't worry, just showing you the steps over here right now, why Glassfish is required. That is most important to understand. Okay. Next step, what you're going to get is the selecting a framework. You don't have to do any framework selection over here until and unless you are going to reach to your ninth or 10th practical. The very last practicals where you have the uh, Hibernate, where you have the JSF. So there you are going to use the frameworks from here. Starting 5 to 6 practicals you don't need. So simply we don't have to select any framework over here. Now once you have created a project, okay, so you're going to see that your project has been created. Now what we are going to do, we know that what we are going to do in our this particular web application which we have just created. This is my web application. This is one of the project what I have created. Now inside this project, I have number of options to add. Maybe in the web pages, I have an option to add my HTML pages, JSP pages, like my client pages, you can say. Okay. You have another option called as source packages, if you can see over here. Okay. I told you whenever we are going to write a Java program, I have to hint my platform that I am going to create something called it as servlet. Okay. Our server should understand that what we are doing and how we are going to use the server, for what purpose we are using that server. So I have to add the servlet file separately. If you can see here, I have added servlet file. Okay. So when we are adding the servlet file, it is going to ask you the name for your servlet file. Okay. And the actual thing which I wanted to show you is your web.xml file. Always remember, your web.xml file is also been called as deployment descriptor. Okay, so that means what? Once you have deployed your application, first time when you are going to execute your application, all the mapping which you have done in your programs, okay, in your web application, is going to be in the form of descriptive language into your web.xml. All the descriptions are been written into your web.xml. So initially when we go to this particular step, this option is unchecked. Okay, so that means by default it is not checked. We have to check it. Otherwise, what is going to happen? You are not going to create your web.xml file, so that you are not going to get all the configuration information which you wanted to have it. Okay, so once you're done, just finish it. You're going to have a servlet file, that is a .java file. Then we have a .jsp file or a .html file you can have. We are going to work it like a client in this file. We are going to work it like as a server file in this. We are going to map these two file, and this all configuration details you are going to get in your web.xml file. Understood? Okay. Now here, if you'll see this web.xml file which has been created, it is like always going to be there in your program when you're going to check that option, that add information to the deployment descriptor option. What you are going to get information from this particular file, you're going to get the version used, you're going to get the encoding type, what encoding format we are using it, and then you are going to get something called it as like this. You're going to get a servlet tags, that means we are using servlets. Okay, now you're also going to get what option? Servlet mapping option. Now here you have to understand that there is a servlet file called as q, there is a JSP file called as JSP first JSP.jsp file. That means my JSP file name is what? First JSP. Okay, what is happening? I am mapping this queue, that is your servlet file, to your client file. Getting? So this is one information is been generated. If you'll do another mapping exactly after this, then second mapping is going to come. Okay, now we studied about the context param tag. We had one word into that, key. If I wanted to use number of information, if I wanted to pass the number of information to my servlets, to many servlets in one go, I have an option in web.xml file where I can add the context param tag. Okay, always remember your context parameter tag is always going to be placed outside your servlet tag, okay, in your web.xml. So what is going to happen if I wanted to have a parameter name, maybe your driver name. Now, what do you mean by driver name? It is going to come into your database terms. Okay. So whenever I am going to communicate, or I am going to build the communication or a connection between your host server and the database, I have to give the database connectivity steps into my servlet code. Okay, that how my servlet is going to get connection with the database, what will be the database name to which I want to get connect, what is the authentication of that database, what is the username, password of that database, all the things I have to mention into my servlet, so that my servlet is going to search for that particular database with that credential, and it will try to connect it. Okay, so whenever I'll try to have something, this communication, I need call it as a driver which is there in your database, and I have to connect that particular driver which I am going to have it over here. Okay, so if I have multiple servlet files where I have multiple database connectivity, I don't have to write the separate things into the mappings. What I can do, I can simply write into one place, that is context parameter. I have a parameter name, something called it as driver name, and this also is going to be there in your servlet program. Okay, and I'm going to have a driver path to where I want to connect to. Okay, so this is how you're going to use the context parameter. Fine. And you don't have to write this particular thing repetitively for all your servlet files who want to connect with the database. You can simply write into one place, and this is going to help in the whole web application wherever the database connectivity is required. Fine. Now in brief, I'll just go with this, that servlet context is available inside your javax.servlet.star package. Okay, and it is going to have an object. It is for the entire web application, so we can also call it as a global object. Okay, the object of servlet context will be created at the time whenever we are going to have a web application deployment. Okay, what is the scope of that? As long as the web application is getting executed, the servlet context object is going to be available, but once it is been destroyed using the destroyed method, the application is going to be removed from the server. Okay, and servlet context object is going to be available even before giving the first request. Fine. And we know that in web.xml file, what tag we require, that is your context parameter tag. It is going to come under your web app tag, but it is going to come outside your servlet tag. Okay, why we are writing outside the servlet tag? So that whatever servlet tags we are creating, servlet mapping tags we are creating, it is going to get applied to all those servlet file. If I am specifically putting into one of the servlet file, then what I have to do, I have to put it into every servlet tag. Okay, so if I am putting into one servlet tag in between that context param tag, so what is going to happen, it is only applicable to that particular servlet file, so it will not going to work for the rest of the servlet file which I have created. Okay, that is why we put it into the outside of the servlet tag. That's why it is also said as it is global to the entire application. Fine. If I wanted to give you an example, like we can have an example where I can need different email IDs. Okay, I have one application which I have built it for a job portal. Okay, and then I have to have two email IDs to share, that one can be for a recruiter and one for the job applicants. So what I will decide, I'll decide to have two servlet files which is going to handle the request, and another is going to handle for the job applicant. One is going to be for recruiter and one is going to have a for the job applicant. So one servlet file goes to the recruiter and one servlet file is going to go to the job applicants. Now where I'm going to store these two email IDs, again it is going to be given into the form of name and value pair. I can give the servlet name, I can give the values also. Okay, and whenever my servlet is going to get executed, it is going to get all the data which is getting stored into your web.xml. And if I wanted to know that, which name I wanted to have from the stored data, I can simply use this method, that is get servlet config method dot get init parameter. Okay, we'll not go into this detail. We'll let you know what exactly the difference between when we are going to learn about the servlet config interface. Okay, after this we have servlet config interface also. When we studied that, so we'll going to have that comparison. Fine. So we'll stop here. I think we have only 2-3 minutes left with us, and I'll just stop sharing this. I hope you have understood the basics. I hope that you have understood the javax.servlet.star package why we are using. We have studied about the servlet interface and we have studied about the servlet context interface. Okay, how and where it is been used. We have learned about the web.xml, how it is been created and why it is been used. Fine. So this all things, please remember, we are going to continue in the next lecture. And if you have any doubt, you can ask me. I'll just stop sharing this. I'll give you the attendance link also by that time. And don't leave, I have to take the screenshot. If you have any doubt, you can ask me, students. Even if you are getting, at least let me know that you are getting. So at least, I'll be sure that whatever been taught to you, you are getting. Okay, so I am sharing you the attendance link. Please fill it up. And if you have any doubt, you can ask me. Even if you are understanding, at least let me know so that you know
मैम
I. Ha, Rohit, tell me.
मैम परमिशन मांग रहा हूँ.
परमिशन
Oh,
मांग रहा है.
okay, wait. Then I have created from ORG. That's why I'll just change it. Wait. Okay, now try it. I've changed it.
एक्सेप्ट किया मैं.
Start किया? Form start हुआ? Is it accepting
हाँ,
the?
स्टार्ट हुआ.
Okay. Responses are coming now. Okay. So this chapter is very important. Students, please learn it properly. And जो भी आपको डेटा दिया गया है उसको पढ़ो